Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Procure Tech Wonders. I am here with Sonduren from Airbase, and we're going to go through what we typically go through on these calls. So you're going to get a 15-minute rapid fire Q&A. Sonduren, I hope you're ready for this.
Ready.
You're going to be on the hot seat. And then we are going to go through 15 minutes of demo. And then at the end, I'll wrap it up with three things that I loved that I saw today and three things that I don't quite love yet. And this is all, I know, this is all for you, those who are watching, because we know Procure Tech is such a vast space at this moment in time. So use this video to learn more about Airbase and how it might help you in the future. So, Sonduren, you ready for this?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. And I didn't ask before, but maybe we could do that just briefly. Can you give us a little bit of a preview of your title and what you do at Airbase real quick?
Yeah, I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing at Airbase. So I mentioned a previous life, corporate accountant, was in finance and accounting, and I suffered from so many of these pains that really I was sold on being a corporate accountant to CFO that I'd be focusing on the strategy to grow the business. And the reality was, getting into the practice, I was bogged down by all this manual work, all of these disparate systems, and I never actually got to realize the vision of what I signed up for. And I think a lot of the customers that we talk to are bogged down in the same way. And so I'm really passionate about technology, allowing this office of the CFO to go from the back office, and they've been stuck there because of all of this mundane work that they have to do, and bring them to the strategic decision table to actually go grow the business. Because these are incredibly smart people that really understand the business. They need to be allowed to go focus on that instead of the mundane,
Yeah.
repetitive, labor-intensive work, right?
Well, you can't tell that you have passion about this.
Yeah.
You have a ton of passion. I love it. First question for you, Sandrine. What does Airbase do? This is the easy one.
Yeah. Airbase, we really are helping the office of the CFO do the strategic work that they signed up for. So in terms of, you see on my screen, procure, pay, close, the entire procure to pay experience, right? So from requesting spend to understanding what vendors you need to work with, getting approvals for the spend, all type of spending, accounts payable automation, expenses, corporate cards, your procurement, getting all those approvals in place, making those payments internationally, globally, and then closing the books. So really, what we automate that entire spend life cycle, that entire process to manage all your company spend.
So could you say that you're sourced through Settle?
You could say that. There's lots of different definitions and terms in the market, but especially for our ICP employee counts, company size of 200 to 10,000 employees, we cover that entire spend life cycle of all of the spending across their business.
I love that. I love that. And I saw your system already as a preview and it's amazing. So I can't wait to see the demo again today. All right. Why are you better than your competition? Can you give us a couple of points where you really are differentiated in the marketplace?
That's a great question. So I was a former corporate accountant, by the way. I was in corporate
Okay.
accounting, public accounting, worked at the Canada Revenue Agency, and I worked with all of the different teams when I was a corporate accountant, the procurement teams, IT, legal, etc. And the biggest thing that sets us apart against the rest of the vendors is we have an entire solution that covers the entire spend lifecycle. And that's extremely important. If you're thinking about a tool that's going to enable your business strategically to go and grow, you need to understand, like, making payments or sourcing vendors, all of those things don't happen in silos. You need a solution that understands, look, across this entire life cycle of procure, pay, close, all of the different teams and tools that they use, and how does the system interact with them all to make the entire process as automated and seamless as possible. And so that's how we differentiate. We just don't deal with intake orchestration. We don't just deal with approvals. We don't just deal with just the payments or the close experience. We consolidate it all into one intuitive solution that's easy to use so you can get compliance and adoption of your system that covers the entire cycle of spend.
And you already mentioned a little bit about your target market, but can you go into a little bit more details around your target market?
Yeah, so companies anywhere between 200 employees to 10,000. We have 15 public companies that are with Airbase. A lot of these companies have grown with us. I'm primarily selling into companies that are headquartered in the United States, but you may have multiple subsidiaries around the world. I'm based in Toronto, Canada, your friendly northern neighbor up here. And so that's primarily our market across all different types of industries.
Okay, and globally, like you can support a global client?
Yep, absolutely. So as
Perfect.
long as they're headquartered in the US, like here, I'm in Canada, we full
Yeah,
support in Canada across every global country.
perfect. Perfect. Okay. Not that I need to know your price because that would be hard to do, but can you tell us a little bit about how you price your solution?
Great question. So when I talk about we manage all of this non-payroll spending,
Mhm.
traditionally people would say there's a bill payment solution, there's an expense management solution, a travel booking solution, corporate card solution. So all of that comes in one platform. So really pricing is made up of two things. What parts of the platform are you starting out with? Some of our customers, they say, look, I just have an accounts payable problem first. I want to start there.
Yeah.
Then they expand out because the vision is this consolidation of all of this non-payroll spending in one tool. But basically, it's priced on module and the amount of users that are also using the platform. And then in part of that, how many payments are being processed through the platform.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know. It's interesting to me about how many different pricing approaches people have. So it's good to let our audience know kind of what to expect and what data to be thinking about. Okay. All right. We have 3 questions left. Just so you know, we have just about 9.5 minutes on the timer. So, okay. So you can go into a little bit more depth if you want on
Perfect.
these. So, why should we be excited about where you're going? What does the future look like for Airbase?
Yeah, this is what gets me excited. I think everybody that went into finance, accounting, procurement, these are some of the smartest people I've ever worked with. And
Mhm.
allowing them to actually get out of all of this mundane work and allow them to focus on the strategy of the business, that gets me so excited. And I think we're at this precipice actually right now where, first off, I think this should have happened a long time ago, right? I think this should have happened for the
Right.
procurement side, accounting, finance, a long time ago. But that's another thing to talk about. Now we're here and we're at this amazing inflection, I think, in terms of like what technology can do now to actually go ahead and automate so much of this work. Not only automate it, and the way we focus on Airbase is like we want to use technology to not only automate as much of those manual processes as possible, one, but also use that technology to drive insight into your business to support that office of the CFO in that strategic decision making capacity, right? So they
Yeah.
can come those insights to grow the business. That's what really excites me. And I think, today we just released some of our spend analytics capabilities, and I'll definitely show that in the demo, but allowing you to have the insight into your business to actually drive those business conversations to grow the business, that's what's exciting. That's what people signed up for. Amanda, for any of your viewers that are Canadian, one of the biggest advertisements that was put out for the CPA program in Canada, it's
Yeah.
funny, it's a commercial of CFOs in helicopters pointing around like they're making all of these strategic decisions, and they do for the most part, but so much of their team and that entire function was burdened by so much manual work. And so now we're using a combination of workflows, AI technology like traditional machine learning, but also generative AI to fully automate the experience, but also provide insight like never before. A great example is like expense reports, Amanda. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, people have been talking about, oh yeah, we automate expense reports for you. The reality is like if I get a receipt and I scan it, like traditionally, we've been doing this since 2017, it'll
Yeah.
extract the merchant, the date, the amount. But me as an end user, I still have to go in, add
Yeah.
some
Check it
detail,
all.
what expense for. But now we're
Mhm.
using actually a combination. So for Airbase, is our touchless expense reporting, combination of machine learning and generative AI. The machine learning pulls out that information. Generative AI uses the context of that receipt to populate the purpose. So for me as an end user, that conference we just came out of, Amanda, I just had
Yeah.
a bunch of receipts. I took a picture on my Airbase app. That's it. Put it away. At the end of the trip, I just said, okay, this is all an expense report. It auto-populated all the details for me. I just reviewed it. Okay, this looks good. Submit. Done. Like
Wow.
literally 2 seconds. That's what is incredibly powerful about the technologies that we have at our disposal today. And so much of it can unlock real value in the use cases that our customers go through every day. And so that's what's really exciting. And I think what we're going to see is really this transition that this office of the CFO is going to play
Mhm.
across the AP manager, the controller, the staff accountant, the VP of finance. Their jobs are going to dramatically shift to focus on being those strategic decision makers that they signed up to be in the first place.
That's awesome. I'm daydreaming about that expense reporting too, by the way. That is amazing.
It
All
is a
right.
dream.
Tell us a little about a success story if you could. Can you share one of your clients and how they used Airbase to drive success?
Yeah. Lots of
Yeah.
success stories, as I mentioned, across different industries. I'll share one with a financial services company, Amanda. I think they come in with, let's say, a problem on AP, then they start expanding out into corporate cards and expense management. And one of the values of when you have a consolidated solution is like you get this inflection of value as you combine these solutions. I'll give you an example. This financial services company was paying a whole bunch of their vendors by ACH. Traditional, you pay by ACH, that's supported in Airbase, you can pay by check. But also, if you adopt our corporate cards module, we will actually identify for you all of your vendors that accept a virtual card payment, right? And virtual cards, if your audience is not familiar, is a one-time card for that vendor, for that expense that we spool up, similar to a regular credit card. It's just a virtual card. You have the details there, and you pay those vendors with that virtual card, which gives you so much control and visibility to stop against recurring subscriptions, potential fraud, etc. But then you earn cash back on that payment. And so a lot of our customers, and this customer in particular, earned 4 times the amount that they pay Airbase in a software subscription. They earned it in cash back. They just earned it in cash back. And Airbase will automatically bubble that insight and give that to you. And this is in addition to, look, we're in a totally different economy now, Amanda. Like, money's not free. Interest rates are high. CFOs are looking for opportunities to reduce costs. The first thing that automatically happens when you consolidate, you don't need to pay 3, 4, 5 other vendors for one expense management solution, one bill payment solution, a corporate card solution, an intake solution. You consolidate that into one, you immediately get ROI. It's like immediately you're saving hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially for our customers right off the bat. Then you're saving more money. You're turning your AP engine into a revenue generating engine. And then there's all of the efficiency, of course, the compliance that comes with it when people are adopting one solution. Like, it would be miserable for me as somebody on the marketing team. I need to do my expenses. I go to an expense management solution. Oh, if I need to source something, I have to go to this other solution.
Different one. Yeah.
Oh, if I have a corporate card. Okay, well, how do I learn how to use this? And that's a big part of the value, Amanda, is that when everything's consolidated, simple to use, easy, modern, one place to go, you get that vision that you bought into when you invest into a solution like Airbase, or you invest into your ERP like a NetSuite. It actually will materialize, because none of that will ever materialize if nobody's using it. Then you just bought something and no one's going to use it, and you're never going to get the value.
Yeah. Yep. We see that all the time. Wonder Services, change management, big deal. Yes. It's enormous. Okay. We have 3.5 minutes left for your last question. The last question is, what is the most common mistake that leaders make when they are approaching a solution like yours? Can you share a lesson learned, if you will?
Yeah, I think the most common mistake is not really understanding, and this is what I see from people that come to us, not actually really understanding what this entire life cycle of spend looks like. And it's quite collaborative. I think, COVID taught us the collaboration across all these different teams, the ability for people to go spend when they need to spend. There's a ton of collaboration involved. For example, if I'm on the marketing team and I need to go buy maybe a project management software or a marketing tool like a Figma, as an end user, I have no idea. Well, who do I need to get an approval from? Does our compliance team need to approve? What do they need? Right? All of these things. So inherently, collaboration is a huge problem for companies right now when they're thinking about their spending. So I think one of the things that I see a gap in today is, like, a lot of people actually do not know the depth of what is required across those different teams and making sure a solution best fits their needs. Let me give you an example, Amanda. We talk about procuring, paying.
Yeah.
All of this, by the way, we always talk about procurement, cost savings. Those cost savings, where are they reflected? They're reflected in your financial statements.
Right. So sometimes it's hard to find.
That's true. But when you do find it, those should flow into your chart of accounts and into your financial statements. And so from the accounting perspective, let's say that's one of those stakeholders, they need to know, okay, how are those cost savings actually getting entered into your ERP? How are the POs coming in matching? Are they 2-way matching? Are they 3-way matching? Are we able to accrue for this? Is some of this prepaid? Do we need to amortize it? Like, there's so much nuance. And that's the difficulty for buyers today, is that if you're not working with all of those different groups to really understand their needs, finding a solution that will work for everybody is quite difficult. So it's very important in the early stages when you're looking for a solution that you spend time with your teams to really understand what are their needs, what are their use cases, and bring them into the evaluation process. Because when I talk about like who we sell to, this office of the CFO, I use that
Yeah.
broadly on purpose because a lot of the companies that we sell into, when they're looking for a solution, they involve the procurement team,
Hmm.
accounting and finance, legal, IT,
Treasury.
treasury, and they all
Yep.
have these unique needs, right?
Yes.
And so that's extremely critical to understand, especially for these complex businesses that we sell to. These are not mom and pop businesses. These
Yeah.
are 200, we have 15 public companies. These are complex business units, right?
Mhm.
And so making sure that you really understand their requirements is critical to a successful implementation or software selection.
Now I'm going to hand it over to you, and we would love to see what Airbase is all about in a demo.
So this is Airbase, right? And I think the big part of the value here, modern, intuitive interface. I'm in this environment right now. And again, this is the dashboard. I can see a lot of those actions that I need to take as an administrator, as a user, across all of my non-payroll spending. So you can see on the left-hand side, our virtual cards, our physical cards, bill payments, expense reports, accounting automation, it's all here. So all your non-payroll spending in one solution. And what really our customers love, Amanda, is the fact that now this is all truly consolidated across the platform. They're going to be able to dive in and understand their business metrics, their performance, their expenses, and be able to financially plan and strategize on how they can grow their business. So here I can say, look, across all my spending, where am I spending this money? Is it pre-approved? How much of it is Maverick spending that's happening across the business, so I can better work with my teams to make sure that we're getting pre-approvals in place for all of this spend. If I go down, I can see how is my spending happening by department. How much of it is pre-approved spend? How much of it is Maverick spending? I can double click into this. Let's say I wanted to understand, look, whoa, marketing's been spending a lot of money on pre-approved and Maverick. I want to go see what is driving that spend. I can click into this and go into the details. And Amanda, this is the beauty of all this. From request, approval, payment, to sync to the ERP, I have that full visibility on all of those transactions in one system. So, if you're inside the office of the CFO, auditors are typically scary. I'm not scared of this. Everything's captured, including the documentation. An auditor can come in, internal, external. Everything is here, synced to your ERP. You have a full history. So I could see all of those details here. Maybe I want to see actually by vendor. How much am I spending by vendor? How much of it's pre-approved? How much of it is Maverick spend? Then I can click in and double click and find out what is driving that spend. Where is this spend happening? Who requested this spend? Who approved it? I want to see the invoice. All of those details are captured here. Maybe what I want to see actually, Amanda, is, and this is that value, right? From upstream to downstream. I want to actually see how it's impacting my chart of accounts, my expense line items that hit my financial statements. Okay, let's see. Wow, we're spending a lot on software licenses and subscriptions. I know a lot of people are tightening their belts right now. Is there an opportunity to save on costs there? I can double click and find out. Now, this is just about kind of the actual spend that's happening. But because you have all of these processes and workflows built into Airbase, Amanda, it's not just about that, but it's also about compliance and it's about efficiency of your processes to make sure that the marketing team can get their spend. What you want to do is you don't want to put controls and blocks in place to be the bad guy. You actually want to allow your team to go spend that money to grow the business, but you need the visibility and control. So this gives you some information around where are some of these spend requests pending and on who? How long have they been sitting there for? How long are bills pending and on who? And how long have they been sitting there for? Understanding across guided procurement, which is that intake orchestration layer, where you get all those approvals from different teams and their different systems. Where's the blockers here? Wow. Well, it looks like across those requests, legal team is taking quite a long time to review. I can go into those requests, maybe figure out what part of this process is taking so long. Is there a room to optimize here? Right? And I could see that across all the different approvals and the cycle times for the spend. Maybe I want to see the median time to approve requests by category. And here I can double click to say, okay, of course, software subscriptions are probably recurring spend. They're more complicated. They may need IT review, compliance review. That's taking longer and I can see that, but maybe there's opportunities to streamline that even further. And I'm able to see all of this data. Monthly requests, I can see, okay, how many requests are actually happening across my business by month? How much has been requested? How much has been approved spend? Who are my slowest approvers across the business, right? Funnily, we call this like the loser board internally, like you don't want to be here because you're the slowest, but to actually help you unblock the team strategically to go grow the business. On the bill payment side, how much is paying inside of Airbase? How many bills are created with a PO or without a PO? Some companies may have a policies like no pay, no PO, right? You can decide these things. Down below here, of all the bills that you're paying within Airbase, how are you paying them? By virtual card, by check, by ACH, international wire. You got to see that breakdown. And this is actually where a lot of our customers will come in and say, look, I want to strategically move as much of the spend over into virtual cards to earn that cash back. And we allow that to happen. I'll flip over on this screen here just to show you what that looks like. Maybe I'm paying vendors, and here I'm on the bill payment screen now at Airbase. We will identify and say to you, look, of all of these bills that you're about to pay, switch them over to virtual card, earn cash back. Now we have a full vendor management capability here. So vendors, when they onboard with you, they'll go through a vendor portal where they can manage everything, track invoices, put in their payment details, put in their W-9. We'll actually extract their W-9 details, validate it with the IRS and 100 other government agencies. So we have a full suite here to manage that entire vendor experience as well. But the value here is that I can actually start having these strategic conversations and driving real value for my business, because all of the spending is in one place and I have visibility into it and ability to act on it and actually make those decisions to grow the business or to get ROI for the business. I can also see days spent on bills. How much time am I taking to create bills? How much time is it taking to approve bills? And then, of course, some other details here, AP aging as well, basically the full suite. And really, at the end of the day, Amanda, the value here of this is the fact that because all of this is in one system, I don't need to go stitch together a whole bunch of different solutions to get it, then actually understand what I need to do with my business or to make these decisions. That's typical of month-end close, by the way. Our customers, when they come in, they have these elongated close cycles. And they end up not having the data to make the decisions that they need to make for weeks after the period is closed, right? And so really, the fact that you have all of this here in one solution, intuitive, easy to use, with access across all of your spending, right, is really the value here that we drive, Amanda, with Airbase. So our customers love this, and it's intuitive, it's modern, and the big thing about this, it connects with all of your ERPs as well, right? So we have 70 different ERP integrations, and we really see Airbase as a tool to actually maximize the investment out of your ERP, right? Really where you could say, look, we got this ERP in, we need to go ahead and make sure you don't want people like on the marketing team. I'll always just use me going into NetSuite, for example, getting them a license. They're going in there and potentially changing things. You don't want that. You want a user interface that integrates with NetSuite deeply to provide this information to the end user and allow them to go ahead and spend, right? So whether it's me requesting, and I'll go through this example here, maybe what I want to do is request spend. And I'll go through what this entire process looks like, Amanda. Let's just use marketing. I'm going to say I need Figma. I need a software solution. I need a Figma. How does that actually work? Well, in Airbase, all I would do is I would go to my dashboard, which looks very similar depending on if you're an administrator or an end user. It'll look a little different. Go to request, purchase. So from here, I'll start putting in some basic details about what I'm looking to actually go get. And from here, by the way, everything that you're seeing here is completely no code. This is our guided procurement product, also called as intake orchestration as the category. And in this case, it's like, who owns this request? Well, it's me. I'm Justin Phillips in this demo. What are you looking to purchase? Let's say it's software. That's what I'm saying. It's a marketing tool. And I shortlisted this vendor. It's going to be Figma. Perfect. It's an existing vendor in my account. That's important because we'll have a full vendor onboarding experience if it's a new vendor. Click that. The budget's going to be $50,000. This is a marketing design tool. I'm going to make some nice designs. I'm going to click save and continue. So for an end user, it's so simple. It's one place, basic information. I click save and continue. And that problem that we talked about, Amanda, earlier, how do I know what does the team need? What does my business need in order to get this approved and for me to get going? I don't know, but Airbase will know because it's fully customizable. And I can see now, okay, great. So it looks like I need an approval over DocuSign for an e-signature. It looks like there is going to be a vendor questionnaire. So I can invite the vendor to provide the details, or I can enter the information myself. I need a department level approver. Looks like my IT team needs to approve as well. And we have full integrations, by the way, and this is extremely critical. I talk about that requirements gathering. What are the systems that your team use today, those best-in-class systems that you need a solution to integrate into? Because they want to stay in those systems. So the ability to integrate with Asana, Jira, Ironclad, OneTrust, integrate with our API to push this information into those best of class tools so that they can stay there. All this information gets pushed on this request. The contract details, everything. They can stay in Asana in this example, see all the details, click approve. This is good. It gets synced back to Airbase. Then all of this gets collected, this full audit trail, and gets synced into your ERP. So I'll need IT approval. Looks like procurement. I'll need an approval on the procurement side. Again, all fully customizable, no code. You don't need anyone to help you with this. You can make it yourself. Legal review. Then finally, the finance and accounting milestone. So this is where it's like, we talk about the procure, now the pay. And because you have the value of a full consolidated solution, is this something you want to pay with a virtual card? Is this a one-time expense? Is this a recurring virtual card? Because this is a software subscription, you can give guidance on selection, or you may decide as a company, look, anything over $50,000, we've employed you must have a PO for this. So then I'll create a purchase order. I'll put the service start and end date. I will map to the subsidiary. So Airbase has full multi-subsidiary, full multi-currency support. So subsidiaries around the world, full multi-currency support, payments to 200 countries and 145 currencies. We make payments by ACH, check, wire transfer, virtual card. And the depth of functionality here, Amanda, as well, is extremely important for the complex customers that we have, where, let's say, for example, I'm in Toronto, Canada. We have a subsidiary in Canada. Can we connect to a Canadian bank account? Can we connect to a Canadian bank account in a Canadian dollar connected to our NetSuite ERP that's in US dollar? So having that type of depth and functionality is extremely important. Tags, maybe you want to tag this to help track your expenses. Maybe it's a project or a SKU or a location or department, whatever it is that you need. But also, I talked about the depth of integration that we have with those ERPs. I'll use an example of NetSuite. We can bring in your NetSuite custom fields, bring in your NetSuite custom segments. All of that can be brought in here. Enter the line items, put in the information of the PO, your T's and C's, then you share this PO out to the vendor. Now the approvals, they will go through the traditional approval workflow that we have. You'll build those approval workflows, very easy to customize and go ahead and leverage. And it will go out across email. We have a Slack integration as well. You can get that, the mobile app that we have, and then of course, email and your dashboard you'll have there as well. And so once that PO gets created and it's approved, then you'll start getting those invoices and you'll start matching to that PO. And so I'll get out of here for a second. Those approvals will actually trigger. Then I'll go to bill payments and I'll see, great, we've gotten all these invoices now, invoices across all of those subsidiaries. So again, that depth is really important. And I can click into an invoice, for example, and I can start going ahead and matching this to a PO. We'll have OCR extract all the details here. If there was a PO in this example, it would match automatically on the PO number to the invoice. We'll also bring in the details of the posting period, right? In your NetSuite ERP, you may have closed the books, and Airbase will know and say, look, we know because we have this connection with NetSuite, this is a closed period. We're not going to sync this entry into that period. We're going to sync it into the next open period, right? Amortization is another big one. So our integration with NetSuite, we support out of the box. By the way, you can amortize on a straight line method, prorate the first month and last month. We'll do that for you automatically. Like we remove the month-end close experience for the accounting team, that the other checklist item off of your table, right? Less work for them to do. Automate as much of this as humanly possible. And this depth that we talk about, I can amortize at the transaction level or at the line level. So I can do both. How is that useful? Maybe you're buying software and a portion of that is services. You can't amortize that. So you got to expense that, but then amortize anything else that you need. That type of depth and functionality that when we talk about an evaluation, understanding what those different business groups needs is extremely important, especially for these complex businesses. And of course, the approval workflows would automatically populate here with observers, and then the ability to create this bill. The bill gets created, automatically the approval workflows will start going out, and then the bill is paid. You'll pay the bill on the previous screen I showed you, and you have that full AP automation experience built into Airbase. Now, maybe you selected a virtual card, right? I'll go to this example on my own virtual card here. Maybe I didn't need a PO. Maybe a virtual card was all that I needed. So all I would have to do is spool up a virtual card. I'll get access to that card number and I could pay the vendor with the virtual card and we're done. So really, in the power here, what a lot of our customers do, Amanda, is that they love the virtual card because they can go ahead and request it, and the amount of control that we have on the virtual card is incredible. So I can say this virtual card is locked down to this vendor. It's got a spend limit of just the amount that we agreed to pay the vendor. I can see how much has been spent. I can see how much is available. I can lock the card if needed. I can also control the spend categories. I can say, look, this card is not to be used on alcohol. I can go ahead and say, nope, block that, right? By these categories across this card. All of this control is built into the system and it's consistent across the platform. Receipt compliance settings. This is a huge pain for accounting teams, Amanda. Like, oh my God, the amount of people I had to chase for receipts drove me crazy. You can go ahead, set reminders automatically for people to upload their receipts. And if they don't upload it for a certain period of time that you select, you can actually lock their cards. So it's a good way to positively, let's say, reinforce them to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So you capture a full audit trail.
Do you have any parting words, last words that you want to leave with the audience today?
No, I think when you're evaluating a solution, make sure you think about all the different stakeholder needs. That's extremely critical because you're not just looking to solve your problem. That's part of taking the role of being strategic. You're solving for the business's broader problems. So think about when you think about spending and how you're solving for this problem, very complicated problems of spending for employees, spending on how you pay your vendors, how you procure. You have to really think about it holistically and look for a solution that covers the entire life cycle of spend.
As I mentioned, saw a demo previously. I'm just super impressed with the thoughtfulness of what Airbase brings to the table. So the three things that I actually listed four, so let's see how this works, but I might do a combo here. The three things that I really love about their solution, first, is that it is truly connected. Like, you can see that end to end. There is one seamless experience for the users. And I think I'll combo this with the spend analytics that you saw today in the demo. It's brand new functionality for Airbase. I'm loving that they went that way, because really, at the end of the day, why do you put together, or why do you invest in a solution like Airbase? One is so that you have a better user experience, which is great. The other one is so that you have actionable insights because of the view that you have through the system, right? Uh, and it's interesting to see how Airbase pulled this all together, because they truly have those end-to-end insights. As when I was a practitioner, man, I wish I would have had those end-to-end insights. And I remember trying to put a virtual card behind a punch out catalog, and it was painful. And so that to have those prompts right in the process around decisions that you could make, because they're truly end-to-end and collaborative. I love that about Airbase. Okay. The other aspect that I love about what they do is that it's simple. Like, you saw the demo, it's not overly complicated. And I love how they built in this philosophy around intake right into their solution. It's not like you have to go to a different solution to get intake. It's just built into the flow. And man, if I compare what I saw today to maybe some other legacy solutions out there for rec creation, completely different ballgame. It's intuitive. It's built into the process is built into it. You don't need to guess on where you need to go next. And think about those companies that are a little bit more complicated, that have, let's just say, 15, 18, 20 different buying channels. You can build that right into the solution. So it's less training, less understanding that's needed. That the system really just directs people on exactly what path to follow. So it's awesome. The other thing, and you've heard me harp on this with other solutions, I love that they're going to where the people are. And the reason why I say it that way, that Asana example where let's just say, hey, there's something in the checklist that needs to go to IT. Well, IT's using Asana to manage their process, or let's just say marketing's using that Asana for their process, whatever that might look like. You can actually build that in, so the people who are used to using Asana versus Airbase can continue to use Asana. I think that's such a game changer within procurement, because adoption is always a struggle, and we talked about that a little bit earlier on, but you really need to be thinking through, how do I get this functionality embedded into other people's processes versus forcing them to go into our process, which I think truly is very smart of Airbase to be thinking through. I wish that more other technologies would be thinking that way too. It becomes less of an application, more of a built-in process, and you're going to where the people are. Okay, so I actually didn't write down three items that I don't quite like yet, but here is kind of where my starting point was. The first one was, I really love the example that was provided around receipts and expense reporting, and having all of that information in there, machine learning and Gen AI kind of coming together to create this very seamless experience. The first thing that I thought of was, geez, that would be really great for invoicing. So if you do get an invoice that comes in that's emailed, or gosh, heaven forbid it was mailed to you, but let's just say it's not electronic, can they marry that same functionality? Maybe Airbase is doing this already, although I think it was mentioned that they're using more like OCR capability, but it would be great to see Gen AI and machine learning come together on invoicing. I think that's a complete game changer that they could be bringing to the table. The other thing that I think would be super interesting as Airbase continues to develop is to leverage all these great capabilities that they've already built and push that more into the sourcing and contracting space. I mean, you saw today when Figma was brought up in the demo that it recognized that they're already a supplier in their ecosystem, which was awesome. But I think that extending into contracting, extending into sourcing, and really reimagining what that process could be for people, I think is a great next step for Airbase. And that's truly then end to end. Like I've always thought of, how can we make sure and connect the dots between what was in the contract versus what's going on the purchase order, what's going on the invoice. And if they can extend into that, I think that would be a natural place for them to go. All right. The last recommendation, and something that I don't love quite yet, and I have shared this with Airbase too, they have an amazing solution, guys. Like it's absolutely amazing. I wish they would get out there more, so more people could understand what Airbase capabilities are, and not just mid-market, all the way up through enterprise. I think they have such an opportunity to move forward, and I would love to see them at and they're starting to do this, but just so you guys know, I've seen them at a lot more conferences this year. They're doing a lot more social media. They're getting their names out there more and more, but man, do they have an awesome solution. And I just hope that they continue to invest in their marketing efforts, clarifying their messaging even more. I think it's great. I think that obviously there's always room for improvement there, but continuing to really understand and work with procurement folks, work with this office of the CFO, and continue to get this wonderful solution out in front of people. So that would be my third recommendation that I don't quite love yet, although they were making a lot of progress this year. So with that said, I hope you loved this video and continue to engage with us on Procure Tech Wonders. We're doing this for you. We get questions all the time at Wonder Services about the solutions that are available. In fact, I just literally had a call right before this meeting about that very topic. We want to clarify this market for you and bring you this very consistent way of at least getting a little preview of each of these Procure Tech solutions. So if you're interested in Airbase or learning more about Procure Tech, there's a link to our website below where you can either say, hey, I want to learn more about Airbase, or I'm interested in learning more about Procure Tech in general, or I just need help with change management. Whatever that might be, please go to our website. We are here to help you to make sure that you make the wisest decision on your investment in Procure Tech, but then you also get your ROI from it. So with that said, thank you again for joining us today. I'm Amanda Prochaska, the Chief Wonder Officer of Wonder Services, and I cannot wait to see you back here for our next episode.